Dr. Second Chance here, and I want to talk about pet therapy, which is also called animal-assisted therapy, because it works great for recovery. Sometimes the answer is not going to another meeting, but getting a dog. So pet therapy has been around for 100 years, and it dates back to Florence Nightingale in the 1860s when she noticed, Florence Nightingale, of course, is a very famous nurse, that patients that were in the hospital with a lot of chronic pain, when they interacted with animals, they seemed to have less problems with pain. It seemed to reduce it. And so this has been an observation in lots of studies that pet therapy works to relieve anxiety and stress as well as pain. And so, as I mentioned, this animal-assisted therapy, or AAT, it has gained a lot of momentum. As a matter of fact, when I went through my recovery 12 years ago from alcohol and oxycodone, part of mine was telling my woes and working with a big giant brown horse on the plains of Colorado, and it was really a fantastic experience. So how do we see it typically play out? Well, you might see on college some sort of handler who brings the dog, and it's usually the dog that brings it to college or a nursing home or a kid's ward in a hospital. And then the second type of therapy is more structured, where you have a counselor with treatment goals. And this can be done with dogs and horses, as I mentioned. And the thing about it is people get results whether they have underlying psychological problems or not. There's still positive effects. So some of the things that have been noticed: one study, petting and playing with a dog decreased distress and pain. And that one's been repeated several times and is pretty much accepted as usually true. Of course, there's always exceptions because people are individuals, and animals are individuals as well, so to speak. Visiting with a dog can ultimately release brain endorphins, giving you a sense of euphoria. Now, endorphins are like the brain's natural opioids, like morphine. And it accounts for things like a runner's high. When runners run long distances, they get a big release of endorphins, and they find this very soothing and enjoyable. Dog visits also reduce stress hormones such as cortisol, norepinephrine, and epinephrine. And that is really significant because higher cortisol levels all the time can really make you sick. It promotes weight gain, it promotes muscle mass being broken down, and fat being stored. Very, very unhealthy. Now, the studies have been done basically on the idea of observing what kinds of effects they would produce. There's not been as much research into why it works, how it works. Nobody's exactly sure. In part, it's believed that the animal, when the animal interacts with you, it sets up its own changes in brain neurochemistry, and that results in the animal sort of responding more positive, even sort of over the top towards you. So there's this human-animal bond that develops. You know, so one of the other things that's found is that people who practice having better social interactions. When they talk and work with an animal, they find that as they learn to talk kindly and nicely and positively with the animal, that is transferred to kind, positive interactions with people. So what are some other ways that a dog or an animal can support your sobriety or my sobriety? Well, one, they will give support, compassion, and unconditional love necessary for successful recovery from drug and alcohol addiction. Your dog is never disappointed if you relapse, and dogs don't give up on you the way sometimes people do. A dog can also be a sober companion. Now, a sober companion is normally a person that spends time with you to help you stay sober and can do a variety of things to do that. You can just think of the dog as someone who accompanies you wherever you go and as a reminder to stay sober. Now, what else? As we mentioned earlier, that when people are in rehab and they work with therapy animals, one thing that happens is that the person in early stages of recovery learns to communicate better by being loving and petting the dog and being gentle with the dog. The person learns to communicate in a way that transfers to people. And so, yes, you will learn to talk to others differently if you work with the dog. But also, people that have dogs are often greeted by many people and invited into new social circles. And that is one of the challenges of recovery is getting into a new social group of friends that will support your sobriety journey. The dog can definitely be an exercise buddy, take you out, walk you, run you. I like to take my little dog Peach out and we'll do wind sprints at the park. I put her on a great big 20-foot leash and we both sprint as fast as we can. She can go fast, I cannot, but we have a hoot, and I will definitely take her on hikes and long walks if the distance is too small. Sometimes on hiking trails I found 5 miles is a little bit too much for her. And, you know, dogs require care. And there's no doubt that when you have a dog and you're inspired to take care of the animal and you've bonded with the animal, this is a powerful, powerful motivator not to use drugs or alcohol again. Because you are responsible. The dog will not eat properly if you're wasted. And with that also comes a new purpose for living. If you're taking care of the dog and wishing the dog well and interacting with new people with the dog, you have a new purpose of life that will give you excitement and foundation for staying sober and carrying on. And so, yeah, dogs are amazing. And, you know, we've talked about some of the mental health earlier, how dogs can decrease depressive symptoms and anxiety and even chronic pain. And so those kind of mental health, psychological issues. And lastly, having a dog helps you develop a routine. When you're early in recovery, excuse me, having a routine is very helpful because filling your time with important things to do is one of the ways we've seen in the long run of having long-term sobriety. And having a dog with a routine, you know, feeding it a certain time of day, bathing it a certain number of times a month, walking it every night or every morning or both, you add the routine of the dog, and that is so helpful to you for your long-term success. But anyway, so I highly recommend getting a dog and then engaging in other kinds of pet therapies like a horse. Some of my friends that have been in recovery with me on my journey for 12 years all have dogs and love them and find them so helpful. I think you will too. I'll talk to you next time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I'll talk to you later. Peach. Well, hi, girl. Well, hello, beautiful dog. How are you? You're so precious. Do you like sitting on your blanket in the sunshine? We love you. You are such an affectionate, wonderful dog.